Hello Internet, welcome to Games Done Wrongish.
Hey guys, in this video we'll be taking a look at the Game Pass edition Graveyard Keeper. I started the game back in early October expecting to have the game done and this review well before Halloween. I picked this title due to its graveyard setting and thought it would fit well with the season. It also gave me a reason to try out one of the more obscure titles from the Game Pass service. Needless to say, with it being almost mid-November when I am releasing this review, the game takes a while to complete. Mostly because I suck at micromanagement, but also because there is a lot of micromanagement to do in the game. So with that, let's take a deeper look at its main mechanics. Graveyard Keeper is a top-down micromanagement game. If you have played games such as Stardew Valley and the likes, you will feel at home very quickly with this game. However, as most games of this nature tend to ease you into the tasks and story, this game seems to go all out to thrust you into your new world and role as fast as possible. As such, you are quickly given 4 or 5 quests to complete and are advised that these can only be completed or progressed on certain days. The days of the week correspond to the icon at the bottom of your minimap. This icon will change each day to let you know which day of the week it is. For some reason, the developers decided to go with a 6-day week for this world rather than the 7-day week we are used to. As such, you are advised that on the days represented with a sun type symbol, you can encounter the bishop character, who will be stood outside of your church and will assign tasks such as clean up and maintain the graveyard, decorate the church and hold weekly sermons. The next day is shown as a sort of female Unicode symbol, in red. This will let you know that on this day the singer Miss Charm will be performing in the local tavern, and she also will have tasks for you to complete. The next day is symbolised by a sort of brown Taurus symbol. This symbol corresponds to the merchant that hangs out beside the barn in town and will offer you expensive items. He also loves good food and making money in any way he can. He also has tasks for you that will generally revolve around food and money, so prepare to set up your farm to meet his needs. Midweek sees the green devil-like symbol, which indicates that Snake will be available to interact with under the church in the dungeon area. Prior to this, Snake is kind of trapped under the church. You will need to clear some debris to allow him to move freely and start his set of tasks, and then after that he will only show up on this day. The next day is pretty much represented by the male Unicode symbol with a reddish background. This symbol lets you know that the Inquisitor will be available to interact with upon Witch's Hill. Here he carries out regular witch burnings, if you carry out the tasks he requires first of course. You may not feel this is absolutely necessary to the general dialogue of the game, as I didn't, but in order to progress through the game you will need to bend to his will. The final day of the week is the day symbolised by the moon. This day indicates that the astrologer will be available for interactions at the lighthouse. The astrologer seems to know things about how you arrived in this predicament and perhaps even a way out. This covers the 6 days of the week and the 6 main NPCs you will need to interact with to complete the game. There are many more NPCs in the game that you will need to interact with and trade with from time to time to progress, but the main task will generally come from these 6 characters. The game shoves you through the initial 6 days and interactions so fast it can make your head spin a little at first, but don't let that put you off. You are not forced to complete any tasks within a certain deadline or anything, so you can take your time and get to grips with the rest of the game before looking into completing the first set of tasks. Once all introductions are done, you will find yourself in your small home near the church wondering what on earth you should be doing. Luckily, you get introduced to a floating skull. Well, actually you dig him up, and then when his memory starts to come back to him over time, you get introduced. The skull will remember certain things along the way that will guide you through the initial steps of the game. Soon enough you will be taking care of multiple corpses, carrying out autopsies, burying or cremating the bodies, choosing headstones and grave surrounds, and generally trying to keep the standards of your graveyard high. The quality of the corpse will increase or decrease the quality of your graveyard. Therefore, if you get a corpse that is in really bad condition and you cannot salvage it by carrying out the autopsy, you may want to cremate that corpse instead, and only bury the good corpses, if you will. Later on in the game you can learn how to do better autopsies, embalming and other things to ensure the corpses leave your workshop in a much better condition than the one they arrived in. However, initially you will be left with some write-offs. On top of this, you create a little farmstead just outside your home to grow crops. These will be needed for food, drinks and alchemy solutions later on. There is also a vineyard on top of Witch's Hill, which will allow you to grow grapes to make wine and the likes. Immediately outside of your home you will create an outdoor workshop, which allows you to do some blacksmithing, carpentry and stonemasonry. Later on you can advance further into jewel crafting and creating paper. This will allow you to build things like headstones for your graveyard, benches for your church, a distillery for your cellar and much more. You'll be able to chop down trees to harvest wood and mine iron and stone nodes around the map to gather materials for blacksmithing and stonemasonry. However, before you can do any of these things, you must gain the knowledge to do so. To gain the knowledge, you need to visit the nearby village. In the village there are a number of establishments and NPCs dotted around to help you progress. These range from the innkeeper, blacksmith, farmer and more. Each of these characters will play a role in getting you started towards a certain profession. For instance, the farmer will sell you a few seeds each week to help you grow your own crops. However, if you want to become self-sufficient, you will need to figure out how to make compost to increase the yield and quality of your crops. Once you have mastered this, you will be growing more and better crops in no time. A lot of the professions and crops will have multiple grades of quality. These range from bronze to silver and then gold. If you add a quality boosting compost to a bronze quality seed, you may yield a few silver quality items and seeds in the process. Repeat this with the silver seeds and soon enough you will have full rich crops of gold quality only. There is also a cooking aspect to the game which allows you to create food and drink. These items generally help you maintain your energy and health. Energy is consumed in the game whenever you partake in any task. Be it picking crops, sawing wood or forging iron, each activity will consume energy. You can just go home and sleep to recover your energy every time you run out if you like, but this is not going to be the most efficient use of your time. So it's best to learn how to cook good food and drink that will allow you to keep completing your tasks for longer periods of time. You will eventually become too tired to continue anyway and will have to sleep at some point. This will be indicated by floating Z's above your character if you have left it too long without sleep. Health will only be consumed if you are attacked. You don't generally get attacked much in this game, however there are one or two areas in which this can happen. Collecting honey from beehives can cause you to get stung and lose a little health. Going out at night can cause you to come across bats that will swoop at you and cause damage if struck. Last but not least is the dungeon area. This area is unlocked with Snake's help later on in the game, underneath the church. The dungeon has 15 levels to complete and each level will have enemies within. It is a good idea to stock up on food and drink before venturing down here. Apart from manual labour and dungeoneering, there is a much more relaxing necessity in the game and that is becoming more learned. To do this you must partake in writing notes, then chapters and finally creating books from your knowledge. You can also study any item you have found or created in the game to gain further knowledge of them. Each of your tasks all grant points. These points are split into 3 different colours. You gain red points for general labour things like carpentry and blacksmithing, you can gain green points from farming and the likes, and finally you earn blue points from studying and writing books. These points are required to advance your expertise in all areas. To advance your knowledge in anything from carpentry to cooking, you must assign these points in this sort of skill tree which can be found in the technology section of the main menu. Here you will advance each of your skills to help you create better items and food, which in turn will allow you to advance the church, workshop and farm to suit your needs. The main tasks granted by the 6 NPCs mentioned earlier will fill you in on some of the lore and their backstory. The tasks they give you can lead you on some pretty entertaining story paths, and some can send you just down deeper into the levels of the dungeon to complete them. Either way, the game uses its tasks and stories to ensure you are able to explore all of its mechanics thoroughly and play around with the different aspects of each trade skill to get the best results you can. At the start of the game you are injured, it seems, in a road accident, and when you wake you are in this world being told that you are assigned as the new graveyard keeper. Will you discover how or why you are here? Will you ever be able to leave? And will it all make sense in the end? You'll have to play the game to find out. Well, there you have it, Graveyard Keeper. The game has 62 achievements to collect for your 1000G and is currently sitting at 70 on Metacritic, with a user score of 5.0. For me, I feel the game did enough to pull it above an average score. It kept me busy for weeks, playing for a couple of hours each day, and it generally kept me intrigued enough to come back each day and progress that story a little bit more. It did have a few technical issues here and there. Its frame rate seemed to drop fairly often, especially at the start of a new session, but I imagine it has a fairly large database that it needs to load and keep tabs on, so I'm a little bit forgiving for that. And I can understand it to some degree. The sound left a lot to be desired. The characters were not voiced and instead just made some random computer noises when they were talking, and the music was pretty much not there most of the time. It did appear every now and then when you were travelling outside or maybe in the dungeon areas, but for the most part there was no music. So instead I switched it out. I turned the music off in the game and I decided to play my Spotify playlist in the background whilst playing the game. That actually made it better for me. I was enjoying my music whilst coming back doing the remedial things in the game. The to keep progressing, and it actually made the game that bit more enjoyable. So yeah, I think I would have done that even if it did have a good music track, because the mechanics in the game do have you repeating things over and over. You'll be like chopping down a lot of trees, for instance, mining a lot of ore and things like that, and it's easier to do when you're listening to your favourite music tracks rather than the same in-game music tracks over and over. So I think I would have switched to Spotify either way, even if the music was good. These drawbacks were not enough to make me not want to play it anyway. I still desired to get it done, and I'm not sure if that was because I just wanted to get this review out or if I was really enjoying the game. I think I must have been enjoying it because I was thinking about the game whilst not playing it. Like when I was going to the shops or something, the game was in the back of my mind and I wanted to get back to it and I wanted to play it some more. So therefore I do believe it deserves an above average score. As such, I'm in line with the main critics on Metacritic, and I score this game 7 out of 10. I feel the user rating of 5.0 was a little bit low, although I played this via Game Pass, so I didn't pay any more than my usual monthly subscription anyway. Maybe if I'd actually purchased the game in store, I may have been a little more critical and perhaps my score would have come down, but this is a Game Pass review and I'm happy to go and get it 7 out of 10. What do you think? Will you pick this game up with your Game Pass sub? Will you buy it outright? Or will you give this one a pass? Let me know in the comments below and I'll see you next time.
If you like this video, please consider watching another. 2 suggestions will be on screen now. Also, if you have not subscribed already, please do so by clicking the icon in the middle of this screen. Every view and subscription will go a long way to helping the channel grow, and in turn will result in more content for you. Thank you, and until the next time, goodbye.